Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very, very special guest calling from. Where are you calling from?
I am in Florida.
Okay, 3 hours ahead. I just wanted to ask you, can you tell me a little bit about an extensive history of your past leading up into what you do in the present?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that question, Kimberly. I was born from Puerto Rican parents. They moved from Puerto Rico in the early 60s
So
to
you're
New York
Puerto
City.
Rican.
Yes, I'm Puerto Rican. Yes,
Okay.
Puerto Rican from New York City. Yes, and they moved in the early 60s in search for the American dream. And with a lot of hard work and dedication, they did exactly that, my father especially. And we were having very good life in New York City. We've been very blessed and very honored to be able to do that until November 1973 happened, and on an armed robbery gone terribly wrong. My father's life was taken in his favorite business, which was his jewelry store. He was only 43 years old. I was
Did
8
they
years
ever
old.
find the person?
Yes, yes,
How many,
yes. He
if you
they
don't
did.
mind me asking, how many years did he get for murder?
Supposedly he got life in prison because my father wasn't the only victim. He
Okay.
murdered some other business owner as well, and it was over drugs actually. And he got life, but we found out I don't know how many years later, I cannot really recall, but that he got out on parole or something like that. But it was years ago. This was back in the 1970s, so who knows where this poor soul is at this moment in life.
Okay. And so you were 8 years old, and what else happened?
And my mother, after my father's tragic death, my mother fell into a very deep depression, and she never recovered from it. Mom had chronic untreated mental illnesses for very, very many decades. This was the times when mental health was never spoken about and mental illnesses were demonized, and that's the absolute truth. But my mother was very resilient. She stood up for the in the best possible way she can. She used the little or no tools she had to make it work, and that she did because she raised all of us three siblings in to be good human beings. But that didn't take away the fact that when we lost our father, we definitely lost my mother in a big way as well. So it was like in a big way losing both parents at the same time, because my mother's demise, she never went back to what she was before my father's death. That's for sure. And it triggered many consequences for all of us for many years to come. And it was the time that, I mean, at least in our culture, this is all I heard as an 8-year old girl. Shh, you don't talk about the dead. And you don't talk about the dead. And in my very confused 8-year old broken heart, I thought that I couldn't talk about anything that was wrong with me, anything that I was feeling, because the worst possible experience of my life to that point was the death of my father, because I was daddy's girl on top of
Mhm.
that. So it was a very hard time that took me to a very deep, down to a rabbit hole of confusion, low self-esteem, low self-worth. I thought that I was not worthy of anybody's time. I was bullied by family members, friends, school, and it was definitely a downhill spiral. And I was reading not long ago about a research that shows that two-thirds of all children from all over the world will have a traumatic experience by the time they reach 16 years old, whether it is
Mm.
the tragic passing of a loved one, being
Mhm.
bullied, or by being sexually assaulted. And I went through all of these by the time I was 9 years old, actually. So you can imagine, in the world of confusion and the grief, that I didn't understand how to work it out, because grief was something, since you cannot talk about the dead, you don't talk about grief. You just bottle it up, you shut up, and you keep on going. And all I heard was keep on going. And yes, even though keep on going is a powerful phrase, sometimes we need to be vulnerable. Many times we need to break down. We need to grieve. We need to embrace the loss in order to be able to move on in life. I didn't know how to do that. And I didn't do that for many decades of my life, actually. hmm And definitely those, those experiences really, I didn't know where it would take me in life, but it took me to where I am today, talking with you. It took me to be a author. It took me to be a life coach. It took to be a speaker and talk to as many people as possible, that and let them know that even though we go to such dark sessions in our lives, we can make a change. We can take a chance. We can hit that restart button over and over again, no matter the age we are. I mean, I became a licensed massage therapist 20 years ago, and I was 40. I was 40 years old. I was 38 years old when I went to school. I gave birth to my beautiful, amazing children when I was 32 and 35 years old. So all these things that I decided to turn my life around. Of course, this was right after motherhood, because before that, I was on a downhill spiral for many, many years, unfortunately. But we learned the lessons, and I'm very grateful that I'm still here, because my life could have easily gone the other way. I was involved in a highly abusive relationship with the father of my kids. I grew up around violence, loss, suicide, overdose. I mean, lots of tragedy around me. And I'm very grateful that God gave me the strength to
If
say
you
no more. Hmm.
if you had to describe your life in 5 words, in in, um positive and negative, because we have to bring in a negative because it's a learning experience. So
Absolutely.
if you had to describe yourself in 5 words out of your whole life, what would those words be as a strong Puerto Rican woman?
Resilience, progress, the negative one, self destruction, isolation, and I'm missing one. And definitely shine. Shine.
Okay.
Yes.
And if how did you get, like, because you had a child while you were in school, right?
No, no. I had my
When did
children
you
in my
have when
30s. In my
in your
30s, I had,
30s? And so
yeah.
you had your children and then went to school. Either way it goes, it's still hard.
Hmm.
Either way it goes.
Yeah.
So tell me about that journey. Tell me about, the staying up late, because I had to do it. The staying up late, the being studying for tests and
Hmm.
putting out that type of information for your professor. Like how did you do it?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did you do it?
In my younger years, I mean, I've been a dancer and a group fitness instructor for many, many decades. And my first professional career was actually professional dancing. But as a dancer, sometimes you make a living and most of the time you don't. So I managed to serve tables. I was a waitress for a very, very long time. And while I was doing my dancing as well, and after I had my kids, I was a banquets waitress while I put well, that was in Puerto Rico. And then when I moved to here to the US over 20 years ago, I decided to go back to school for my massage therapy and with my two kids. And it was long days, it was even longer nights, but the inspiration and the push that I received was in the environment that I was at. There's no doubt about that. I was in a relationship that wasn't really take me anywhere. I was around a vicious circle of addiction, abuse,
Tell me
emotions.
more about that. Tell me
Yeah.
more. So for those listeners out there that
Mhm.
need to know, you can get out of abusive relationships. Tell me more about how you got out of it, the who, when and where. What did you do,
Well,
and how you got
without
out?
a doubt. I research has shown as well that it takes 7 tries at least to leave an abusive, addictive relationship. I
Mhm.
was in one for a very long time, and I had an addictive personality myself. Before I was with this person, I was into drugs and alcohol and over partying a lot, jumping from
Mhm.
person to person. I was a very lost woman for a very long time. Then I became a mother with this person that he was a very lost person as well, but he has sociopathic tendencies, and he was a narcissist. And what did he do? What I mean, this was it takes two to tango, because he was the abuser and I was the victim. And many times, and some other times, I was the abuser and he was my victim. So it takes two to tango. It's not that I was entirely the victim of the situation, but what happened with narcissistic tendencies is that they are right and you're always wrong. And you always end up even apologizing for something that you were not responsible to many times. And in that emotional mental abuse, of course, I was in a downhill spiral for many years of low self-worth and low self-esteem. So this was a volatile situation. This was a perfect storm of insecurity, of violence, of well, a place where definitely it was a horrible, very dark season, and it was a very long one for many years. But I was bringing back with this relationship my childhood trauma with violence, chronic untreated mental illnesses, and my father's death. Okay, so I brought all of that package within me because I didn't face it for all of that time until I became a mother and I was still with this person. And when I went back to school, there was something in me that said, you will do better. You have to do better because he is not a reliable person. He had an addictive personality all the way to his death. And he will change from one drug to the other and the other and the other. And being the verbal and emotional abuser that he was, that was like the most, that's the thing that he would do the most. And when I saw my kids being in that environment and the childhood being about that environment, I said to myself, I am repeating what I've been through. This is generational trauma repeating itself. Who's gonna end it? Who's gonna cut the umbilical cord for my children, especially for myself? Me. So I went from not knowing anything about personal development, about healing myself, about seeking help. I always did everything on my own. I never thought that I was that worthy of anybody helping me and giving me support. So the moment that I said, I think I can do something different and get some help from someone, that's when the doors to changing my life opened. But the biggest inspiration as a mother to me was my kids and seeing them in the mirror of my past. So I was looking at myself within them, and I said, "No, this has to change." And that's exactly what I embark on. And it was many years in the making. That's for sure.
Would would you agree that two people that are in a wrong relationship, both using are toxic for each other?
Absolutely, without a
Yeah.
doubt. It's a vicious circle. It's a vicious circle, and it's an enabling
I've had
situation.
that happen to me before, so you're not alone.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
like
here we are,
yeah,
Kimberly. Isn't that a beautiful thing? All these
yeah.
beautiful changes and where we are and how blessed we are to still be here. This is beautiful. What
Mhm.
an honor it is for me to be here. Definitely, Kimberly.
Thank you. And tell me a little bit about your book.
Yes, my book is called Impact Leadership with Blanca E. Rodriguez. I am available in Amazon Kindle and paperback, and it's a chapter of basically me opening my heart and saying it all. The name of my chapter is Roller Coaster Ride, and in this chapter, it was one of the most empowering things I ever done in my life because I finally opened up. I finally broke the silence. I finally said, whoever's going to read this, I hope it helps them in some way or form. And I broke my silence through this book. And this silence, it took me 47 years to break my silence and put it on a book. And it led me to now be a speaker and an educator. How beautiful is that? So yes, the blessings in disguise, the blessings in disguise, and this book definitely, it has been one of the most important things that I have ever done in my entire life for my healing journey, and of course to help others. It became something bigger than me, so it's beautiful. I'm grateful.
What is a excerpt from your book that you would like to share with the audience?
Of course, of course. I wrote a very powerful phrase from this teacher that I had. Is from the old school. His name was Jim Rohn, and he had a powerful saying that it goes like this: Life does not get easier by chance. It gets easier by change. That phrase, when I read it for the first time, it's one of those phrases that is just unforgettable in my life, because from the first time I heard that phrase to putting it in a book, it's been a journey of really understanding what that meant. And change is a constant. We are born out of change. From the moment that we're born to the moment of our passing, we're constantly changing. And these changes definitely had to happen. I had to confront my painful past so I could look with an open heart into the future and go ahead with this healing journey that is a lifelong healing journey, definitely. And the triggers will come, but we are in a different place, in a better place. It doesn't matter, in a better place than when we were a year ago or 2 years ago or 15 years ago. So it's definitely a journey, and to be shared with as many people as possible, because I am sure, Kimberly, that there's so many people like me that live in silence because
Exactly.
they're seeking.
And your race,
Oh,
live
absolutely.
in silence,
Yeah.
and
And definitely,
you're an advocate for them.
absolutely, absolutely. Living in silence, it was part of the culture in back in my day, and I hope these changes has happened. But I'm sure that many people out there anywhere in the world, they must be it's like, damn, I've been with all this silence as well. I mean, almost bursting, and something has to come out of it. And I hope if this helps one person or two or a million, it's my honor. It's my honor to be of help with my words, definitely with my experience.
Tell me about your international speaking. Like, where have you spoke at?
Yes, I have spoken in Puerto Rico. The last speech that I did was in Tampa, and it was a symposium for mental health advocacy. Yeah. Oh my God, my Spanish. So advocacy. Oh my God, I finally said it correctly. So so yes, it was a very powerful symposium about pouring our hearts out. Here we go again. With I was with professionals. I was with PhD psychiatrists, doctors, scientists, and I went in with an open heart to tell my story, share my story with as many people as possible. That I did, and I'm very proud of it. I did another a summit, a women's summit in Jacksonville back in June, and it was very powerful as well. It was all of these women, different speakers from all over, telling about not only what they showcase, but their story, who they are, where they come from, why are we doing all of this? Because the why is so important. This is the most important part of what we do. Why are we doing it? It's not just for nothing, it's for something very important. And the more I understand that, okay, this mission is bigger than me, the more honored I am to do it. And speaking to as many people as possible is super important. So I do it in Spanish and English as well. Spanish is my first language. So yeah.
What is your speaking strategy? What kind of plans do you come up with? Because everybody has to have a plan.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my speaking strategy, my favorite form of speaking is by storytelling. This is my mission to be storytelling and tell the stories as many times as possible, because stories do stick. I love doing informational speaking, inspirational, motivational. That's fine. But storytelling is one type of speaking that it'll stay with you
Yeah.
because you take people into your history, into your story, where you come from, and vulnerability is a must and a plus. So I love vulnerable speaking. I don't have an issue to say where I have come from, and I know that is for all of those decades of silence. It's like I'm done being quiet. I am done with shutting my mouth. I am done with people telling me shh. It's like no, there's no shush anymore. I'm gonna say it all and say it from the heart and help others along the way. So definitely that is my speaking strategy.
How have your journey pivoted based on your age? How has your journey pivoted for the positive and not the negative with everything you've been through and looking at it as a learning experience?
Yeah, the moment that I started seeking help with my untreated childhood trauma, that was the
Mhm.
moment that I started understanding that my if some people can change, so can I. I look for inspiration on many sources, whether spiritual, Tony Robbins, Marianne Williamson, Oprah, this beautiful lady that she's a reverend. I don't remember, I don't recall her name, but she's powerful. And you know, I went to mental, emotional, and spiritual help to be able to finally understand where the hidden lesson was coming from. Because there's always a treasure in the trash. And I look into my trash, and I definitely found my treasure, which is helping others through my story of confronting my fear, confronting all those skeletons that I had in my closet, and finally saying, okay, I'm learning something from here and I'm going to be a better human. And that's not going to define me because my past is not going to define who I am and what my future holds. So definitely taking it from that rooting, it really helped me to see the world from a very different lens from where I see it now, that I wake up grateful every single morning. Every single morning, I am grateful for something that was non-existent in my life. Every single night, I go to bed grateful and grateful for the simplest thing, like what my fridge, my car, having electricity, having a computer. That I can be able to speak to people like yourself, and then the simplest things of life. We once we switch that channel, instead of grief, into a little more gratitude in our lives, things are going to be easier, and we're going to be able to breathe with a lighter breath and say, "It's like, darn, I've been missing so much because I was so busy being in a self-pity party or victimhood, because I was everybody's victim. I was never responsible for my own actions because my low self-esteem was like that. And this is how, unfortunately, us humans deal with things, by saying it's like, no, it's everybody's fault except mine. No, I was responsible for every single action except for the ones that I was not responsible. But the wounds are not my fault, but the healing is my responsibility. And that's basically it. So here I am, definitely, and that keeps me going, definitely, in the saddest days that I may have, and when life gets lifing and we are like, okay, I feel like I'm in a limbo. It's like, okay, let me remind myself of where I used to be and where I am now, where I plan to be in the future, and the difference is remarkable, and I'm very grateful.
Where do you see yourself going in the future?
In the future, I see myself being able to speak big, to big crowds of people. I am in the hopes to educate people more about mental health matters, because mental health does matter.
Mhm.
Where what I saw with my own eyes, with my own family, my own mother, how chronic untreated mental illnesses were dealt with, where they were not dealt with at all, and what it is now. There is still a long way to go, but we are well on our way. Mental health is spoken about, and mental disorders are spoken about today more than ever before, ever. This is a whole new era of people opening up to mental health, and that it's possible to have a life even if you have a mental disorder or mental illness. It is possible. And with the proper help, with the proper support, this is possible. And I want to be, this is my big one, being into advocating for better mental health, no matter what age we are and no matter where we come from. It's very important to me, very dear to me. Hmm.
So how is your plans with the way, because your children are probably grown now, but like how did you change the way you raised them based on how your parents raised you with the generational depressive, like
That,
your mother had it and your father passed expired, but how did you change or break the cycle of the what was going on between your
yeah.
mother and you?
From my beloved mother, I took many lessons on how to be as a parent and how to be as a daughter. Understand that boundaries are extremely important and vital for any relationship that we may have.
Mhm.
Understand, be accepting that they are meant to make their own mistakes, and
Mhm.
I am not meant to be the tyrant because I live in a world of tyranny. It was
Mhm.
about, I tell you to do this because I say so. I grew up in that kind of environment, which led me to a horrible relationship in my 20s with my mother. We were totally worlds apart, but we came back and we rekindled and we sought forgiveness, and it was powerful and very needed. But this was later in life. I said to myself, that is not going to happen to me. I'm going to make sure that my relationship with my kids keeps on growing and growing because they were growing, I was growing, and I believe that all of us are capable to grow. And I am still growing as a parent. There's obviously growing as human beings that they are, and but respecting their boundaries and them respecting my boundaries as well. That definitely has been the winning streak for me because I picked up the lessons of my very distant relationship with my mother emotionally, and her being violent onto, no, I am here, I will discipline you, but I'm going to respect you. And I don't need to put a hand on you, especially as they kept on growing. I don't need to put a hand on you for you to respect me and my character. So it was a very, very different upbringing for them. And even though they were around a lot of emotional and mental abuse with my ex partner, when that was put to an end, finally, things definitely blossomed from there. Definitely. Definitely.
Do
His
you
absence was a blessing.
do
Definitely.
you believe that mental health is challenging and yet solvable, and why?
Yes, mental health disorders are always challenging. There's always a good days, there's always bad days, there's always regular days, and but the more that not certain tools, as many tools are used for us to keep calm, because calm is a superpower. The more in a calm state we are, the better our lives will be. The
Mhm.
more in a state of gratitude we are, the better our lives to be. It's starting with our own bodies because our bodies won't be under such stress. That hormone of stress, the cortisol, won't be up there dominating our bodies, and the serotonin and endorphins will be flowing freely. So we will have a calmer lifestyle. And the more calmer we are, the better life will be. And in this age and this place that we are right now, where there's this hyper information and overstimulation with everything, starting with social media, we all of us need to stay in a place where, okay, what is going to be good for me and what is not going to be conducive to where I want to be in life. And it's up to us the decision, obviously. But the more we exercise gratitude, the more calm we are, the more we put it into perspective, into prayer, and understand that everybody has good days and bad days. I honestly think that mental disorders could be much better handled, but we got to be understanding that if we have dark days, people with mental disorders can be even more hypersensitivity to those dark days because it goes in a whole different route and mindset than those. I'm very grateful to not be diagnosed with any mental disorders, but I've been around mental illness all of my life, my entire life. My daughter has depression, so I know what that is, and she can go into very dark places that me, I will be like, well, I wouldn't go there, but I gotta respect that she goes there. And what do we do? Support. Support. Don't judge. Don't point at the finger. I'm here for you if you need me. I'm just here for you. I love you. And what I do, always have done, when my daughter has been in certain situations, I always take a text. I love you. I'm here. I am not going to be asking, how are you doing? What is happening? Tell me, tell me. No, that's too invasive. All they may need to just hear is like, hey, I'm here, and I'll just sit by your side and I'm here. We don't have to say anything. And that alone changes people's lives. Definitely.
How, well said. How can the people reach you?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you. You can reach me at my website at www.woundedhealer.us. And I am in all social media platforms as woundedhealer.blanca e. Instagram, Facebook, you name it, I'm there.
Everything you have said has been very important to my audience. So I want to thank you so much for joining my show today.
Thank
Stay
you.
on the line for just one more minute. Y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see you guys another time. Bye.
Never waste my time, you all I want.